The cabin lights glowed softly over the rows of passengers settling into their seats. It was supposed to be a routine flight, Los Angeles to New York, 5 hours of altitude in autopilot. Nothing unusual. Nothing memorable. At least, that's how it began. Liam Parker, 31, moved down the narrow aisle with practiced ease, his polished black shoes barely making a sound against the carpeted floor. A seasoned flight attendant with nearly a decade in the air, Liam was known for his calm voice, sharp attention to detail, and the kind of emotional intelligence that let him sense tension before anyone else noticed. As he assisted a mother with a baby in row 8, something caught his eye near the middle of the plane. Row 17. Window seat. A girl, maybe 16. Asian, slender, and quiet. Her name, according to the passenger manifest, was Sophie Tran. Something about her posture didn't sit right. Her back was too straight. Her hands were clenched tightly in her lap, and her long black hair fell forward like a curtain, shielding her face. But it wasn't just Sophie that drew Liam's attention. It was the man seated next to her, Daniel Grayson, mid-40s, well-dressed in a designer polo and sunglasses, which he hadn't removed despite the dim cabin lighting. His hand rested on Sophie's wrist, not gently, not protectively, but possessively. To a casual observer, they could have passed as father and daughter. But Liam had seen too many situations to trust first impressions. He noted the way Daniel leaned in too close when Sophie shifted. The way her eyes darted toward the aisle every time a crew member passed. The way she flinched, so slightly it could have been missed, when he called her sweetheart in a tone that didn't match the word. Still, Liam said nothing. Not yet. There were protocols. Assumptions could be dangerous. But something about Sophie's silence whispered louder than any scream. He made a mental note. Row 17. Watch carefully. He smiled gently as he walked past, offering water to the passengers. Sophie didn't respond, didn't even blink. Daniel answered for her. She's fine. Just tired. Liam nodded, but his gut told him otherwise. Something was wrong. And whether it was instinct, training, or something deeper, he wasn't about to ignore it. Not this time. The plane had been in the air for nearly an hour. Most passengers had settled into a rhythm, headphones on, window shades drawn, conversation soft and forgettable. Flight attendant Liam Parker made his way down the aisle with the beverage cart, his face relaxed but his mind sharp. Row 17 was coming up. He forced a polite smile, one he'd given 1,000 times before. But behind it, his eyes searched, reading posture, tension, body language. "Can I offer you something to drink?" he asked casually. Daniel Grayson didn't even glance at him. "Water," he said curtly. Then, turning to the girl beside him, "Soda for my niece." Sophie Tran didn't speak. Her eyes stayed locked on the tray table in front of her. But when she reached out to accept the cup from Liam's hand, her fingers moved in a very specific way. A quiet motion. Subtle. Intentional. Her thumb curled into her palm. Her fingers wrapped around it. A chill ran down Liam's spine. He knew that gesture. It was the hand signal used in trafficking awareness training, a nonverbal cry for help, taught to victims who couldn't speak freely. A silent message. "I need help. I'm in danger." Liam's heart kicked in his chest. He couldn't react. Not yet. One wrong move, one sign that he'd caught on, and the man next to her could panic, become violent, or worse. But Sophie's eyes met his for a fraction of a second. And that was enough. She was pleading. This was real. Liam gave her the soda with steady hands and turned to Daniel. "I'll be right back with some snacks for both of you," he said warmly, like everything was fine. "Peanuts or pretzels?" "Whatever," Daniel muttered, annoyed. Liam nodded and moved on, pushing the cart forward without so much as a glance back. Inside, his brain was spinning. He couldn't alert the passengers. Couldn't confront the man directly. There were 2 more hours until landing. And Sophie Tran was sitting in a cage with no walls, no locks, just silence. Back in the galley, Liam pulled aside his colleague Maya Bennett, a quick-thinking attendant with 5 years of experience and nerves of steel. "Cover for me a sec," he whispered. She tilted her head. "Everything okay?" "I'm not sure," Liam said softly. "But I think we've got a trafficking situation in row 17. Maya's expression shifted in an instant from casual to focused. "You're sure?" "She gave me the signal," Liam confirmed. Maya's jaw tightened. "I'll keep eyes on the aisle. You handle the cockpit." Liam nodded and moved toward the rear bathroom, not to use it, but to send an encrypted message through the airline's emergency crew app. A few short codes. No full sentences. Just enough to alert the captain and ground control. Within 3 minutes, The reply buzzed back. Understood. Police will meet us on the ground. Keep calm. Do not alert the suspect. Back in the galley, Maya gave a subtle nod. He's getting twitchy, she whispered. Keeps checking around. She looks terrified. Liam breathed deeply. They had 2 hours left. 2 hours to keep a girl safe without making a sound. The hum of the engines was the only constant as the plane cruised over the Midwest. Everything looked normal to the untrained eye, people dozing, scrolling through phones, chatting about weekend plans. But for Liam Parker, every second was ticking like a silent countdown. He couldn't stop thinking about Sophie Tran, the way she'd curled her thumb into her palm like a lifeline. The tiniest gesture, but it had screamed volumes to the right eyes. And now, he needed more than instinct. He needed strategy. He needed help. As Liam stepped quietly back into the aisle, his gaze locked on row 18, just across and slightly behind Sophie's seat. There sat Claire Howard, a literature teacher from Boston, maybe mid-40s, reading a book with the quiet intensity of someone who noticed more than she let on. Liam leaned in subtly as he passed. You see it too, don't you? Claire's eyes flicked up. Steady. Focused. She closed her book slowly. I've been watching since boarding, she whispered. That girl hasn't spoken once. He hasn't taken his hand off her. Liam gave the slightest nod. I may need your help before we land. Claire closed her book fully and slid it into the seat back pocket. Say the word. Back in the galley, Maya was already coordinating with another crew member. They couldn't act yet, but they could prepare. We have officers waiting at JFK, Maya said quietly. Captain's on standby in case we need to divert. But it's risky. If the guy senses anything, he could hurt her before we land, Liam finished grimly. We need to keep this quiet. Make him feel like he's in control. He exhaled. I need a distraction. Something small but precise. Something that lets me get between them, just for a second. Maya tilted her head, then glanced at the cabin. Seatbelt warning? You walk through. I drop something near his row. Our teacher friend stirs the pot. Liam cracked a tired smile. Simple. Subtle. Just enough. Exactly, Maya said. We don't give him a reason to snap. We give him a reason to stand up. 10 minutes later, the plan was in motion. Claire had been briefed in a quick pass-by whisper. Her calm resolve was unshaken. Maya's voice came over the intercom, smooth and casual. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some mild turbulence ahead. Please return to your seats and ensure your seatbelts are securely fastened. Liam moved slowly down the aisle, pretending to check buckles. Then Claire made her move. She stood up abruptly, knocking her carry-on from the overhead bin. It tumbled perfectly into the aisle in front of Daniel Grayson's seat. Oh no. I am so sorry, Claire gasped, leaning down. Daniel shifted, annoyed, momentarily distracted. That was the window. Liam swooped in smooth, professional, voice friendly but firm. Sir, we've had a small seating error. I need to relocate you to first class. Daniel scowled. That's ridiculous. I'm fine where I am. I understand, but it's been requested by the captain, Liam said evenly, eyes never blinking. It's just for landing. For safety. Daniel looked ready to argue, but the sight of 2 additional crew members approaching behind Liam, Maya, and a male attendant seemed to shift something. He paused, then stood slowly. Whatever, he muttered. As Maya escorted him toward the front, Liam leaned toward Sophie, voice barely above a breath. You're safe now. Come with me. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. She nodded, and she stood. Without saying a word, Liam guided her to the back galley, where Maya had already prepared a blanket and water. The trembling girl wrapped herself in the blanket like armor. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't think anyone would notice. Liam knelt beside her, voice soft but steady. I did. And you did the bravest thing you could do. You asked for help. The lights of New York City glittered below like a sea of fireflies, drawing closer with every passing minute. But inside the cabin of Flight 482, the air was thick with quiet tension. Sophie Tran sat wrapped in a blanket in the rear galley, her eyes red but steady. Liam Parker remained by her side, keeping his voice calm, offering water, simple words, steady presence. Up front, Daniel Grayson sat in first class, flanked by 2 flight attendants. He'd stopped protesting, but his face was stone, jaw tight, nostrils flared. He knew something had shifted. He just didn't know how badly. As the wheels touched down at JFK, the landing gear thumped beneath them. Solid, certain. Liam peered through the galley window. Police vehicles were already waiting. Lights flashing. Doors open. Officers poised. The captain's voice came over the intercom, smooth but firm. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We have a brief delay at the gate due to a security check. We appreciate your patience. In row 17, Claire Howard, who had helped spark the entire rescue, exhaled deeply. Across the aisle, passengers were whispering, guessing, sensing something important was happening. They were right. The door opened. Within moments, 2 NYPD officers and a plainclothes federal agent boarded the plane. They moved with purpose, no shouting, no dramatics. Just clean, practiced authority. They walked straight to Daniel Grayson. "Sir, please stand up. You're coming with us." "What is this?" he snapped, voice full of fury. "I haven't done anything." "You'll have a chance to explain that," the agent said coldly. "But for now, you're under federal investigation." As the handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists, the entire cabin watched in silence. He didn't look powerful anymore. He looked small. Meanwhile, in the rear galley, Sophie began to cry, not out of fear, but out of release. "You're safe," Liam reminded her gently. A female officer approached, kneeling down to Sophie's level. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm Detective Monroe. We're going to take care of you now, okay? You're not alone anymore." Sophie nodded. For the first time, she believed it. As the passengers disembarked, many paused to look back, at Sophie, at Liam, at the team that had quietly changed the outcome of a nightmare. Claire stopped by Liam's side and placed a hand on his arm. "You did something incredible today." He shook his head. "We all did." Back on the empty plane, long after the last passenger had gone, Liam finally sat down in row 17, the same place where Sophie had been trapped just hours earlier. The silence was deafening. Captain Rachel Medina stepped inside and approached him. "You good?" she asked softly. Liam stared at the seat in front of him, then nodded. "I think I am now." "You saved a life today," she said. "No," Liam replied, his voice tired but full of quiet conviction. "She saved herself. I just listened." Days passed, then weeks. But the story of Flight 482 didn't fade. It made headlines, yes, but it did something more important. It sparked a conversation. News outlets reported on the bravery of the flight crew, the silent hand signal, the girl who found the courage to ask for help without saying a word. Social media lit up with hashtags. Hashtag see something say something. Hashtag silent signal. Hashtag Flight 482 hero. But for Liam Parker, it wasn't about trending. It was about Sophie Tran and what she did next. 2 weeks after the incident, a letter arrived at the airline's New York office. Handwritten, neatly folded. No return address, but everyone knew who it was from. "Thank you for believing me. Thank you for noticing when no one else did. Thank you for saving my life." Liam read the words in silence, and then read them again. She was safe now, back with her family, receiving counseling, support, warmth, the things she'd been robbed of. But more than that, Sophie had found her voice. She had chosen not to disappear. In the months that followed, Liam began working closely with anti-trafficking organizations. He led training sessions for airline staff, spoke at aviation safety conferences, and shared his story, not to be praised, but to prepare others. At one school seminar, he saw Claire Howard again. She was speaking to high school students about awareness, vigilance, and courage. The kind of courage that doesn't come with applause, but with quiet, decisive action. And Sophie? She became an advocate. She recorded a video, face blurred, voice steady, sharing what the hand signal meant, how it changed her life, and why others should never ignore that kind of call. Her story was played in classrooms, flight attendant briefings, and community centers across the country.